Hello, Instagram. Happy Thursday. We're going to wait about a minute and let everyone know that we're live here and let Taj get on as well. So once you pop on, send me a wave. Hi, Mom. Say hi once you pop on. Love to hear from you. Thank you for being here. Again, another minute or so, and we'll get going. Hello, hello. A little wave. Thank you for joining. If you just popped on, we're going to wait another 30 seconds or so before we get going here with Taj. I hope you're having a great day. It's here in Madison, Wisconsin. It's a little bit rainy, a little bit cloudy. But it's been a beautiful fall so far, so I can't complain. So again, another 15 seconds or so, just waiting for people to notice that we're live, and we'll get rocking. All right, we'll get going here. I am going to get Taj on in a moment, but if you are new here, my name is Dusty Madison. I am an online business manager, and I help female athletes turn successful business owners, create winning systems and teams so they can elevate their business and secure their legacy. So I am a former collegiate coach. For that, an athlete. I guess I still consider myself an athlete. And it is a segment of the population I'm very passionate about, athletes in general. So that's why I'm so excited to have Taj on here today, who is an athlete transition coach. He has been in the game for a while here, working with athletes and doing lots of great things in addition to hosting a podcast. And we'll talk about that as well. So let me go ahead and I'll take a moment. Here we go. Yes. Hello. How are you, Taj?
I'm great, Dusty. How are you?
Good. I just need to adjust this. It always cuts it off at a weird angle when you go.
I know. I'm over here trying to get mine together too.
We're all good. You look great.
Thank you. Thank you. So do you. I like your earrings. I don't wear earrings, but I like yours.
One of my former athletes made these for me, so I gotta represent them.
That's nice. You got the handmade vibes going on, the handmade jewelry. I respect it.
Awesome. We got some great people joining us here today. They're excited to hear from you, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this all week, and I'm excited to bring you on my podcast. I think it's next month, first week of December. Yep, yeah. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so fun. So just letting people know how we connected. I believe you commented on one of my carousel posts about athlete mentality is good or great until, and that got a lot of, I think that resonated with a lot of people. So that's how we first connected. And then, you reached out, we were able to chat over the phone, had a really great conversation. So I'm excited to have you on here today because, like I said in my intro, you've been in this game for a while in terms of, working with the athlete transition, which is such an important job, just because it's such a kind of overwhelming transition for so many athletes. So why don't, those who don't know you, why don't you go ahead and take a moment and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'll give the condensed version because I know you probably got some questions for me. So as Dusty mentioned, my name is Taj Deshawn. I'm a former football player at Stony Brook University. And when I finished my football career, I struggled like a lot of athletes, just like you were talking about, Dusty. And that's the same reason I liked your posts and all of your posts, because you're really speaking to what it's like and the challenges athletes face. So me personally, I decided that after years of struggling myself with the transition, trying to figure out who I was outside of the jersey, I decided I was going to help other people, other athletes, get through that challenge. And I basically look at myself as someone who has gone back in time to be the person that I needed in my corner during that time. Yeah. And in 2018, you mentioned I've been at it for a few years. So in 2018, I took my skills that I had been accumulating in the workforce, specifically as a recruiter. I was helping people land jobs and put food on the table for their families. So I took that skill set, started my own business, Thrive After Sports, and took those skills and started helping athletes through the transition and helping them map out their next steps. And so, of course, I do coaching, but that led into a whole bunch of other things that I wasn't even foreseeing. I just wanted to coach, like do the one-on-one coaching, but it's led into me being an author, vice president of a publishing company. I have a podcast called Thrive After Sports, and I go into universities and speak now too. So that's me in a nutshell.
Man, no, it's just so cool to see it. It's just like you thought you're going, starting with one thing, and then it's just like keeps growing, keeps expanding. So that is amazing. So, I guess you touched on it a little bit, but if you could go in a little bit more detail, like why, like what's your why behind what you're doing and why you decided to go this direction?
Yeah, my why was that, so I always say it's like 50% selfish and 50% selfless. So I like to be transparent with that because that was one of the first conversations you and I had. I felt that I was being called to go do more than I was capable of doing in a corporate setting, and I really wanted to branch out and do my own thing and also do something that was fulfilling to me. And so that's the selfish part of it. The selfless part of it is that, well, if I'm going to be dedicating all my time to doing something and building a business and, facing the highs and lows that come with that, I want to be doing something that's having an impact on people, a direct impact. So that's the reason I started it. Like I said, I wanted to be the person I needed in my corner. I wanted to be the light at the end of the tunnel for former athletes who are struggling. I had a lot of great people who helped pull me up and kind of get me out of that dark space and just help me get clear on getting back on my feet. And I'm like, okay, I feel like I have enough to where I can pass this on to other people. So that was my why. I just wanted to help other people avoid some of the pitfalls that I ran into after I was done playing ball.
Yeah. Yeah. What was that transition like for you?
Well, I always like to take people back to the year is 2013. That's when I graduated. No, 2012. Going into 2013, I came back home and I was back in my childhood bedroom. It's funny because I knew I wasn't going to play in the NFL, but still I was completely unprepared for what was to come next. So I'm back home in my childhood bedroom. I got my little Pop Warner trophies and high school trophies all around, and my mom's telling me to take out the trash. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful that my folks let me move back in with them, but just a huge fall from grace to go from, playing on a big stage at a D1 level to like, now I'm back home as an unemployed college grad in my childhood bedroom with no job prospects and no idea of what I even want to do or where to begin. Yeah. So that led to a lot of drinking, just a lot of isolation. I wasn't able to articulate what I was going through at the time. I just pretty much existed in my room with the door closed, didn't even talk to my family. And the only time I really came out of my room was to eat or to go out drinking with my friends to kind of mask some of the pain that I was going through. So that's what it was like for me initially.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I mean, and I know you're not alone. I mean, and I think there's more resources that have come about, in the last, I mean, I'm a few years older than you, so there was definitely like not much available then, but even since you've graduated, I think that there's definitely more just in terms of career and leadership, at least, when I was at Wisconsin. So that's really great to see, but I think there still is definitely, need for someone as yourself, just having been out now as, entrepreneur and is be able to, like you said, give back and be able to be that person that you needed when you were in your 20s.
Thank you, Dusty. Yeah, like you said, I don't think you're that much older than me, but with me graduated in 2012, like you said, back then there was virtually nothing going on for former athletes. And even in 2018, when I really started being serious about doing this work, there wasn't much going on then either. You might see an article on the NCAA website that says, this is how you prepare for a job interview, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but that doesn't really address the underlying issues. And so it's been cool to see the effort to help athletes transition. And this from being at Wisconsin, that even the effort in the athletic departments is better with the rise of like life skills coordinators and, programming. And then you have people who are popping up and raising their hand and saying, I want to be a part of this work. I want to help too. I got to give a shout out to Keith Sconiers, who's on here right now. That guy's like a brother to me. And
Awesome.
so if you're watching live or watching the recording, check out Keith Conyers. He's doing some great work to help former athletes too. So
Cool. Yeah, so I have a thought, but I wanted to welcome those who just popped on. My name's Dusty Madison. I am an online business manager for female athletes turned business owners, and I'm here with Taz Deshawn, who is a athlete transition coach. I'll get that one time.
hey, it doesn't matter how you say it. It's all good. It's the same thing.
It's all the same. The one thing I was just going to say real quick was, it also comes down to the athlete too, right? And we're conditioned as athletes to not ask for that help, right? Or, to a certain extent, I think it's becoming much more acceptable. And a lot of the coaches are getting more on track and up to date with what is needed to be, as a coach in terms of the support given to student athletes, and being able to have that environment where it creates an environment where you can be open. And but it does come down to the athlete as well being willing to, I think, ask for that and look for that post graduation.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things where you don't necessarily, I think the conversation's opened up like we were just talking about. But at the end of the day, as an athlete, a lot of athletes still don't know that there are people, doing this type of work like you and I and many others. They don't know that there are people like that available who are saying, hey, we can help you. We can help you. We've been through it personally. We can help you get through the other side of this. And a lot of times you don't necessarily know that you're going to need that until you find yourself wrapping up your college career or wrapping up your professional career. And now you're like, oh man, I kind of have to figure out, how to be an adult now, or how to bring value to the marketplace. And I don't even know how to do that or where to start. And so to your point, I think that it's good that more people are popping up, because the more people are able to help, the more the conversation is going to open up and the more resources will be available for athletes.
Totally. Yeah, totally. So you're at home, you're living with your fam. What gave you the confidence to get out and decide to, make that change and start your own business?
Well, the first thing was I realized that I had to, before I started my business, I had to get out of the house, because I was, like I said, I was going through that depression. And what I did was I was like, okay, I can either continue to feel sorry for myself and just be living at home, or I can try to figure out the next steps and figure out who I want to be now that I'm no longer Taj the football player. So once I got serious about that, I started networking like crazy, and I started opening up about what I was going through. So that allowed me to heal, and then it also allowed me to start connecting with people who could help pull me up. And so at that point, that's what allowed me to get a job, move out of my mom and dad's house. But after several years of having success in the corporate world, like I said, as a recruiter, I was like, I feel like I got to be doing something else. And to be honest with you, Dusty, it wasn't even like a confidence thing, because it's not like I knew anything about business back then. Not that I have it all figured out today by any means. But what I did know was that I was unfulfilled, and I couldn't ignore the call to go do something more. And so I always tell people I didn't have a choice. It wasn't even like a confidence thing, because I took a lot of bumps and bruises and earned my stripes in entrepreneurship. I even at one point went completely broke and had to move back in with my parents after moving out. So it wasn't a confidence thing. It was just like, I feel like I don't want to get to the end of my life and regret not going for something that is on my heart to go out and do. So the confidence came from just being like, I have to do this. I have to at least give it a shot. Even if it doesn't work out, then at least I went for it. And thank God, after 4 years, 4 years of putting in work, doing what I'm doing, it's started to pay off. So yeah.
You made the decision and just did it, right?
That's it.
So dive a little deeper into, how you then help recent grad, or even, I know that you even work with, former athletes that are further along from graduation. So in your role as athlete transition coach, how does that work?
Yeah. So like you said, I work with athletes anywhere from recently graduated, 22, 23 years old, all the way up to late 20s, early 30s. I think one of the oldest athletes I worked with was 33. And so that just kind of speaks to the point that the transition out of athletics isn't just oh, I'm a recent grad or I just finished my professional career. You're going through that transition until you actually find a new vehicle that you can be just as excited about waking up and pursuing like you did with your sport. And
Yeah.
so the range is wide. It's mostly recent grads, you know, in the 2022 to 26-ish range, I would say. But I'm sorry, the second part of your question was like, what am I actually, was the
Yeah. So,
program like?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, like, what's the process that you go through with them?
Yeah, so the process is structured and it's changed a lot over the years.
Yeah.
I really spent a lot of time perfecting my craft, like making sure that what I was delivering was actually getting results for people and they were leaving transformed after they finished the program. But what I do is pretty straightforward. I do 8 weeks. I have an 8-week program and I do one-on-one coaching. So we do one scheduled call per week. And it's one-on-one intentionally because not that good things don't come from group coaching. I've done group coaching, but I feel that in a one-on-one setting, you can just get a lot deeper and people, especially athletes who are used to being prideful and looking tough all the time.
Yeah.
In a one-on-one setting, they're a lot more likely to be vulnerable and open up about certain things. And so the process that I use is basically over that 8 weeks, it's kind of broken down into 3 different pillars. Like the first pillar, we're spending a good amount of time, the first week or 2 or 3 weeks, I would say, getting them past some of the emotional internal things that they may be dealing with. Because you know this, Dusty, I never want to come to someone and be like, hey, so you just finished your, you know, your basketball, your football, your soccer career. What do you want to do now? What kind of
Right.
job do you want? Like
It's like,
that's that's jumping the gun a little bit. There's a lot
yeah.
that needs to happen before we even get to that place. And so I spend that first segment of the program just really helping them process what they're dealing with. A lot of times, and you know this, people haven't even had anybody to talk
Mhm.
with what they're dealing with and feel like no one can relate. Like most people are just like, you can't play with your ball anymore. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
You know, not understanding that it's a traumatic experience. So the first segment is getting them past that because I don't want anyone to be on their path executing on the new vision and then they get tripped up by things that could have been addressed up front.
Yeah.
So after the first part is done, I spend the second, like the middle part of the program, helping them get 100% clear on what they want to do. That can mean short term, long term. I'm always looking at the big picture vision. Like if you have to take this job in the meantime, but you're working on this in your
Mhm.
spare time,
Yeah.
that's where I want to focus on. Like I said, creating something that they can be just as excited about pursuing as they do with their sport. And then to wrap it up, once they're clear on their vision and they know exactly what they want to do and how they want to get there, then I spend the latter part of it just kind of holding them accountable to the things that they
Mhm.
said they were going to do to take those next steps and also connecting them with other people who can help them get there. Because I'm not, you know, I'm not so arrogant where I think like I'm the end all be all, I'm the only coach or mentor you need. There are a lot of other great people, specifically former athletes who are doing great things out in the world. And so I have those contacts in any industry where it's like, hey, if you want to get into real estate, if you want to get into technology, if you want to be a coach, now you can have other people helping pull you up. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, and I think, you know, there's career coaches and, I mean, recruiters, I guess, but I think just like having to work with someone or being able to work with someone who is a former athlete, like you understand, like you said, the mentality. So it's not like you're jumping right in without asking those key questions, like you said, of, the just the emotional, mental side that they are working through. And I think especially like these next few classes that are going to be graduating are going to be probably almost even more in need of something like that, just because knowing, all the like strain that's been on, just being able to get in to see someone to chat through things during the year, like those services are like maxed out at most universities. So it's like, I think there's going to be a lot of like untapped, uh, I guess, or there's going to be a lot of athletes that haven't worked through a lot of things, in these next couple graduating classes. That's just my perspective, but.
No, I'm right there with you. I think, especially like you said, with all the NIL stuff going on, I know athletic departments are going through a huge change right now, trying to keep up and put people
Yeah.
in place to deal with that. And unfortunately, I think I can't speak for every university, but I think it kind of can take some of the attention off of helping the athletes get prepared for it
Yeah.
after their sport. And so that's why I love what you're doing too, because it applies to NIL, but it also just applies to kind of being prepared for after you're done playing. Because if you can help an athlete start a business while they're still in school, that's
Yeah.
a beautiful situation right there.
Yeah. 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 We'll see where that goes. Awesome. So, would you say that like there's a specific athlete, former athlete that was like, yes, that is someone that is ready to work with me? Like, I feel like there's some athletes that are very like pinpointed on the careers, like maybe they are in engineering or something like that. And so it's like a path is pretty clear for them. I mean, they can definitely change routes. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
they're going to stay with that, but would you say that there's like kind of like you're seeing a certain type of athlete or someone with a certain, I guess, story from their time during their 4 years that it's like, yes, they definitely would benefit from working with you?
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts on that. I think so. Initially, it was just mostly football players because what I was doing was kind of spreading through word of mouth, and that's I'm a football player, so it spread through my former teammates and their friends and family. And but as it started to branch out, I realized that it wasn't just a football player thing; it's an athlete thing. And so over the years, I've worked with, I can't even necessarily think of a sport I haven't worked with. Maybe like fencing or something kind of random. Like no offense to any fencers
No,
who may be
there's not a
uh,
ton.
exactly. So okay, I don't feel as bad now. But I haven't. I probably worked with athletes from any level. Both collegiate, mostly collegiate, like I said, collegiate, professional, any sport, men and women. But to your point, like there's a very rare group of athletes who like know exactly what they want to do when they're done
Mm-hmm.
playing. And so I'm really here to support the athletes who have no clue, or even the athletes who they may think they know what they want to do, but like it kind of
Hey, Hodge is
rowing. I
asking if
have
you worked with.
I have worked with rowers. Yeah, I've worked with a
Yeah,
couple female rowers. So for
awesome.
sure, shout out to the rowers. Um, but it's like even the athletes who may think that they know what they want to do, unlike, and you know this, Dusty, unlike athletes in college who are college students who aren't playing sports, there's no time to really prepare and like get
Yeah.
the internship experience and all that. So a lot of people are coming out like, I think I want to do this, but then you get into it and it's like, this isn't it. I need to make a pivot. So that's like half of the athletes I work with. Half of them come to me and they have no clue. The other half are like, hey, I thought I wanted to do this, or I started out in coaching or I started out in sales and I'm not really digging this. I got to figure out what I'm going to do next. So I get a wide range of people that are interested in getting some work done.
Yeah, fantastic. Uh, what would you say? What's your advice for athletes transitioning into a new career, and especially if they're looking into entrepreneurship?
Man, okay. So I'll kind of tie them both together. I'm a little biased and I have to be careful not to like
Yeah,
steer athletes into starting a business because it's not for everybody. And I think we live in a time where in this instant gratification culture, people think that means I'm just going to be like a solopreneur and be the next Mark Zuckerberg or something. So I have to set realistic expectations. Like, of course, you don't have to work a 9 to 5. You can carve out a lane for yourself, like I did, like you've done. You can carve out a lane for yourself where you're an entrepreneur. But I always start with whatever you're doing, make sure it's bigger than just money, right? And I say that because when it's all said and done, money is enough to get you started, but it's not going to keep you going in the long term. Like
yeah,
if I was doing what I did for money, I would have quit a long time ago when I was dead broke, right? And now I've come out the other side of it because I stay consistent with my mission and what I believe in. So I always tell people whether you're starting out in a career or you're going into business for yourself, make sure you're 100% clear on why it is that you're doing what you want to do. Who do you want to help? Who do you want to serve? Because that's what keeps you going when times get hard. If it's just about you, and I've been guilty of this before. I've done things that were only where I was the only one benefiting from it.
mhm,
And when it's only about you, you'll crash and burn eventually when times get hard. If you have in the back of your mind, like, this is bigger than me, this is going to help countless other people, even when I'm no longer here, those are the type of missions, careers, businesses that you want to commit yourself to because that's going to keep you going. And the money will eventually come. It's only a matter of time if you stay consistent. So that's my general advice to people getting started. And then also, last but not least, get clear on what works for you too.
yeah,
Because you may think you want to do something, but I always tell people you got to think about, don't just think about what you want to do, think about how you want to live, right? A lot of people get so caught up in, uh, just as an example, I want to be a lawyer. That's great, but are you willing to go to law school? Have you talked to any lawyers? Have you seen what the day-to-day life of a lawyer looks like? Or did you just see it in a movie and you want to put a suit on and drive a Maserati? So you know, those are things that I like to throw out there for people to just kind of think about.
Yeah. Awesome. So before we wrap up, is there anything that I missed or anything, anything else to, and and you're doing a podcast and everything. I mean, what's that like?
The podcast is fun. Honestly, the podcast, when I started that, it started bringing a lot more attention to what I'm doing now. And it started out with just me wanting to share. Originally, the podcast was me sharing my thoughts and just kind of sharing what helped me get to the other side of trying to figure out who I was outside of the jersey. Yeah. And it evolved. The podcast has evolved over the years. Instead of just me talking all the time, I still do solo episodes, but now I'm interviewing great people like yourself, who I'm interviewing next month. And it's called Thrive After Sports. So I want to bring on people who are former athletes or coaches who are doing great things in the world, because I want to set the example that it's not just me. Look at all these great people. Hey, thank you, Coach E. That's my high school coach right there, Coach Esquivel. Shout out to him. That's love. Thank you, Coach E. But yeah, that's what the podcast is about. It's been an awesome experience because I've gotten to connect with a lot of great people. And I know when coaches and players and parents of players tune in, they get to hear all these cool stories and all these former athletes who have built businesses and are high ups in companies. And I forgot to talk about the book. Okay, the book, Thrive After Sports, right here. This is the first book right here. So that book is like my coaching program in book format. I always tell anyone that's not an autobiography. You're not going to be reading, I was born in 1991. Nobody cares. The book is designed for athletes to help you get from point A to point B and get clear on your vision. And then we recently published this book that's self-published in 30 days, Athlete to Entrepreneur. That's myself and 20 other former athletes turned entrepreneurs. We got to get you on volume 2, Dusty, for sure. Right. But that's a great book for anyone interested in entrepreneurship, so you can read the stories of other former athletes and how they got there. So, but yeah, that's all I got.
Well, you're staying busy. It's really impressive. And no, I mean, it's just so fun to connect with people such as you that are so passionate, and I mean, there is so much out there for athletes, but it just doesn't feel like it's always super focused or, and so it's just great to see someone who's really like taking it and wanting to make a difference, for these kids and who are coming out, but also coming out right out of college or, making that transition, deciding to like switch things up later in life. So that's awesome. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can connect. I think the best place is probably just TajDeshaun.com, because all my social media handles are at the top of the website there. But I'm Taj Deshaun I'm very active on Instagram and LinkedIn. So I'm just Taj Deshaun on there as well. Everything else is linked on the website. My podcast, Thrive After Sports, is available on all podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you go. The books you can get on my website as well. Just click the books tab. But that's where I like to point people to. Oh, and I have to leave it with this. Yes. The coaching that I do, thanks to Athlete Soul, shout out to Miriam Glass, they're a nonprofit. I have a partnership with them where I have scholarships available. So people may be listening like, yeah, all this sounds great, but how much does he charge? It's free. So I work with athletes for free, and we have scholarships available through Athlete Soul. So I'm able to be compensated, but the athletes don't have to pay. So just reach out. We'll get you a scholarship set up if finances are an issue.
All right. Do they have they must have an Instagram account, huh?
Yeah, it's Athlete Soul. That's the Instagram. The website is athletesoul.org.
Okay. I'll try to link it in the, when I post the replay, try to link it.
Cool. Thank you. And they can reach out to me too, and I can also get the scholarship set up. So.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on here today, and I can't wait to chat with you next. Oh gosh, the sun finally came out here in Wisconsin. No, I can't wait to chat with you in December, and that'll be really fun to be on your podcast.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Everybody, make sure you tune in for that. I'll make sure I let you know when it's released and everything. I'm looking forward to interviewing you this time.
Yes, awesome. Well, thanks, Taj. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and thank you everyone for joining. It was awesome having you here.
Thank you, Dusty.
Have a great day.
You too.